All righty. Welcome to the Spartan Sports Podcast. Today, you just have me and Zach.
Hi, everybody.
All right, Zach. So, All Star break is here. NBA season is going to be ending soon. It means the awards are coming up.
So,
And Basketball Reference has their 2020-2021 NBA MVP award tracker up. Can you take a guess at where your beloved LeBron James is on their top 10 list?
well, I feel like it would be inappropriate for me to pretend like I don't know, but hypothetically, based on the fact that he's 36 years of age, I would say that he should be number one on the list, right?
Well, no, Zach, he's not.
What? Where
He's
could he possibly be?
have him at six.
Six. Well, I knew that,
I
but
know you did because I told
you
you
s-
before we started.
you verbally saying it again is still just as shocking as it was the first time.
They have him behind Jokic, James Harden, Joel Embiid, and Giannis, and Kawhi also. They have Jokic as the number one, which I was surprised by, seeing as the Nuggets are only 20-15 and just a middling team in the Western Conference. But I suppose that's what shooting 41% as a center gets you from
Yeah, I
three.
mean, looking at the list, listen, I love LeBron, right? But looking at the list, I can understand if you wish to make an argument for like Embiid or Giannis because Giannis is Giannis and like Joel Embiid has been great all year. I can't complain if they're first on your list. However, I love Jokic. He's a big dude. He's a savage, but he's not better than LeBron James. I don't think he's playing better than LeBron James, or his record would be better than LeBron James. And James Harden is on has the most stacked two teammates of all time with Durant and Irving. I mean, he doesn't have to do much work to put up numbers. Even if one of them's missing, he still has the other. So I mean, like, if he wins MVP, it's sort of like, oh, that's not that exciting. And like Kawhi, he's just having another Kawhi year where he's playing really great, but like he doesn't get any spice from the media. No one's talking about him.
Yeah, it seems like the Clippers have just been an under the radar team this year compared to when last year when they were always in the headlines about can they beat the Lakers. So this year they're riding a little below.
Honestly, that's scary for me because last year it was like they were going to be the team, right? They were going to be the ones to take LeBron and AD out at the end of the season. And like I think the pressure got to them, and then when they eventually failed, it was sort of like, well, this isn't great. Then they went through their treacherous off season of wondering, well, should we blow this up? Is it going to work? And now I think they're playing better than they were last year, and no one's talking about them. So I mean, it might end up being a benefit, which is not great for me as a Lakers fan.
Certainly, certainly. I mean, the thing is with Nikola Jokic as their number one guy, they have him with a 49% probability of winning it,
That's a little
which
high. That's a little bit
especially
ridiculous.
with how mediocre the Nuggets have been this year, that's just completely ridiculous. Because usually the MVP award will go to a the best player on one of the top four teams in the NBA. So really, when I'm looking at it, I'm thinking Joel Embiid should probably be number one.
Well, it's usually these days. It's usually who's ever putting up the most gaudy stats, right? But for
Of
me,
course.
yeah. But for me, it's sort of like I always consider the MVP to be like who's been the most impressive. Like who whose performance are you going to look back on and be like, I cannot believe that guy did that, right? And in my mind, there's no way you can look at LeBron James at 36 playing at a level that like nobody ever has played at that age and still being one of the top teams in the more difficult conference after he just won a title last year. I don't think they can look at that and be like, yeah, that guy, he's been the sixth best player. Like, it just doesn't make any sense because LeBron is the only person who's ever put up these numbers. Well, except Luka's starting to do it now. But, like, it's only ever been LeBron to do it. And he's doing it older than anyone who's ever competed at this level has done it. So I just don't agree. I don't understand what they're thinking. Like I get the dip, but you got to remember, like we're only halfway through the season, or we're about right. Got a lot more. We got a lot more games to play. I mean, you just got to. He's in a rut right now, but he'll get back. I mean, that's just how it always happens.
Yeah, there's certainly every opportunity for LeBron to get right back up there in the competition, especially as the Lakers start to get a little bit healthier.
But but let's just be honest. 49% that Jokic wins the MVP. Come on,
Oh, that's
come on.
ridiculous to me. I don't even
That
think
makes no
Jokic should
sense.
be one.
That makes
Um,
no sense. Like not even one. Like if it's at 49% and you have what was it? It was a 10-person list, but we only took 5, right?
yeah,
You're giving 49% to one person on a 10-guy list. So that don't leave a very high percentage for everyone else. So I
yeah,
mean, like
that's
I gotta
the
wonder. Like Joel Embiid has played better than Nikola Jokic. Am I wrong?
yeah. Joel's at 30 points, 11 rebounds. He's shooting 41% from three. He's been crazy efficient this season.
I say compared to and what's Jokic putting up?
Jokic is at 27, 11. He has the 8 assists. He's also been pretty efficient, but again, his team just hasn't been putting up wins. Like they just haven't been as competitive in the West as they
Yeah.
should be.
Yeah, I say where are the Sixers sitting at right now? Like are they number one in the East? I'm
Uh,
not sure.
they're half a game ahead of the Nets right now. They're 24 and 12. The Nets are 24 and 13. So
Gotcha. I mean,
obviously, yeah.
yeah. So it's a pretty close race. I mean that was bound to change though after that big trade happened with the Nets. So we'll see what happens as the season progresses. But I mean, yeah. I mean, listen. Like I said, I love Nikola Jokic. The dude, if he had cardio, if he had more cardio and was a bit more athletic, I mean, the dude's like a 7-foot LeBron. So I mean, who shoots threes? But I
Yeah.
mean, I just don't think that he's been playing better than Embiid. I don't really look at Harden. Harden's not going to win the MVP because I don't think it's a good choice for the league, and I just
It's
don't think it's going to
also
happen.
certainly not great since this is, you usually don't see a guy getting traded mid-season, winning an
Yeah,
MVP award. Because
yeah. So I
the
mean,
Nets were already playing really well without him there. So it's not like he added too much to the team.
yeah. So I mean, if I got to look at it right now, it's Jokic, Harden, Embiid, Giannis, Kawhi, then LeBron. If I had to reorder this list, just based on like a season that'll be remembered in 20 years, I'm putting LeBron ahead because he's doing an all-time thing that's never been done before, like he's been doing for the past 3 years. Then I would have Embiid. The thing is that I would honestly based on those numbers, I'd put Jokic at 3, even though his team isn't performing because Giannis has already had it twice in a row. And so, I
Yeah.
mean, just to keep it fresh, I don't imagine he'll get it. And then Kawhi, I believe his team is just performing really well, but I don't think he is going to win an MVP either. He's not usually that type of player. Usually
Yeah.
players that like play like great defense, but like are average scores, they just don't really ever win it. So I mean, I'd have like LeBron, Embiid, Jokic, Harden, or no, Giannis, Harden, Kawhi. That's how I would list it. I think Harden probably would have a better shot than Kawhi does.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably be looking at it Joel, LeBron, Jokic. Um, Probably, honestly, I'd probably put Harden next, and then Kawhi, and then Giannis. I just feel like the Bucks have been really struggling
They
this
have been
year, and they've just
they
been
have been
disappointing.
disappointing.
And it's kind of hard to put a guy in contention for MVP when his team has been disappointing along with him. You know?
Yeah, it's just one of those things where like he's one of those guys that you just have to have on your list. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like no matter what, is Giannis Antetokounmpo is a savage, so you got to put him there. And Kawhi's just not that exciting, which is the only reason he'd be below him on my list, despite the fact that they're playing incredible this year.
Do you want to know the other four people on the list and see if you think they should jump up any higher?
Sure. Who they got?
They had Damian Lillard at 7, Luca at 8, Kyrie at 9, and Rudy Gobert at 10. Which
That's very surprising. I mean, I know Durant's been hurt, but he's not in the top 10, even like going forward.
no, they've got Kyrie there. Um,
It's interesting.
that is, I honestly didn't expect them to have two Nets in their top 10.
Well, I didn't expect him to have those two nets. I would have anticipated Durant being on there before Irving, even though Irving's been putting up some big numbers recently as far as scoring
Yeah,
goes, but not top 10 MVP. You
I
know,
mean, Kyrie right now is shooting 50, 40, 90. If I'm no, he's almost at 50, 40, 90. If he can get his field free throw percentage up, he'd be at 50, 40, 90.
well, yeah, but like
Um,
when Durant has been healthy, he's been playing as good as ever. So I
yeah.
mean, how
Oh,
coming
certainly.
off his injury, that's very impressive. Lillard, I mean, Lillard's one of those dudes that every year it's supposed to be their year, but every year they don't take the next step. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you can have him as a bubble guy if you want. Luka Doncic, there's no doubt in my mind that as soon as LeBron takes a step back, which is probably going to be in like 4 years at this rate, as soon as that happens, it's Luka's league. That guy, he is an animal. I mean, you look at his stats each year, and they only get better. And the fact that like his first year it was already like 25, 8, 9, and the fact that it's just gotten better. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That dude
And
is a savage.
he was struggling from three earlier in the season, and he's brought his 3 point percentage up to 36%, which is at around league average. So Luca's improved this season. He was, I believe, he was the odds-on favorite to win it this year at first. But obviously, he struggled to start the season, and Dallas has also disappointed this year because Kristaps just kind of is middling as a player.
Yeah,
He's
which makes
making
no sense.
27
I mean,
million.
yeah, that guy is. He's one of those ones that really annoys you, like because you know he could do everything, but for some reason he just doesn't live up. I don't know what his deal could be. I don't know. Maybe if he's hurt. I'm not sure. I don't keep up with the Mavs that much, but I don't know. What I do know is, as far as Luca's 3 point percentage, like we've discussed it before, that he just takes a lot of difficult shots in comparison. Like, and it's not like he's shooting 35% wide open from the corner or from the top of the key. Like he's
Yeah,
usually taking step back jumpers. But I mean, even aside from his scoring, if he can't shoot the three, he still gets his buckets and he does everything else to help you out. So I mean, yeah, I don't focus so much on 3 point percentage, and he's still super young. So I mean, those are all things that can change, you know. So I mean, I
yeah,
don't worry about too much.
yeah. I'm only looking at 3 point percentage if you're taking seven like he is, and he's gotten his 3 point percentage up from where he started. So that's all that really matters. If you're gonna take them and you can make them, that's it's
Yeah,
fine.
I mean, and honestly, what I imagine what they serve to do is free up the court a little bit more so he can make moves on the inside, which is where he gets the majority of his buckets, and maybe from the mid range. So it's more like to keep the defense honest, and if he can hit them at a consistent rate, it's sort of like the argument, like if Giannis could hit a three, like if he could hit threes consistently, like you can't argue against that guy anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the whole thing about him is he can't shoot threes and he doesn't win playoff game or playoff series, I should say. So
The goal should just make them respect you if you're going to be taking threes. Don't
exactly.
let them sag off you. And
Yeah, so
obviously, they can't sag off Doncic with
yeah, I
anything.
mean, that's it. And it sounds like they don't if he's taking a whole bunch of step backs. So I
Yeah,
mean, so listen, NFL media or NBA media, give LeBron love. I'm sick of it. He's 36. He's averaging 25, 8 and 7 or 25 9, whatever it is. 7 and 9, whatever it is. It's ridiculous. He's 36 years old. He's playing 34 minutes a game. Give my man his MVP. He needs another one. It's been too long. He should have won three more already. That's all I got to say about it.
the thing with LeBron is because he's had so many, like he's already gotten a couple under his belt. Yeah,
Four.
he's got the four under his belt. When this, it's not like there's a story there anymore. Because also what they look for with the voting is a story.
There is a story.
And there
There
is
is a story.
now. I think that there's definitely a story now, but there's also kind of this voter fatigue of they've already voted him in four times,
I think it's been like a decade since he's won one, and he should have won it when D Rose won it that one year.
but it never feels like it's been a decade. I feel
I know
because
because you know
he's
why?
always in the conversation.
Because he's still been the best player every year since the last time he was voted MVP. And if you take every team that he's been on, every single one since he last won that MVP, and you take him off that team, except for Miami the first year, those teams are like possibly lottery teams. I mean, You can maybe argue like maybe K Love and Irving on that team might have been made it to the playoffs. Probably
No,
not. They're all lottery teams. Okay, without LeBron, LeBron has made so many bums careers and he has won so many bums championships. Honestly, the dude's like Goodwill for NBA championship rings and appearances. The people that he's taken there, that's the only note in most of their careers. I don't want to hate too much. I'm just saying this is what he does, and he's still doing it at 36. He needs his love. That's all. Okay, I'm done. I'm really done now. I'm sorry. I just get heated.
once if the Lakers can get out of the funk they're in and LeBron can just keep up with his stats that he's had right now, I certainly feel like he should be the front runner. But
Yeah, I think they just need to get healthier. I mean, 36 is a
there's
bit old for him to be doing it without Schroeder and with it. He needs some guys to actually pass the ball to that can do things.
there's enough time left in the season for him to
Yeah,
climb
plenty,
back to number one.
100%. Love you, LeBron. All right, we're moving on to NFL news.
NFL news, yes. You
Alrighty,
want
we
to
got.
hit me up?
So listen, it's been a big exciting. Maybe for others not so exciting, but it's been a big week for the NFL. Regardless, I guess I would say the biggest news is that J.J. Watt was released, and then he decided to sign out of every team that he could possibly sign with. He chooses the Arizona Cardinals, reuniting with his former teammate DeAndre Hopkins. So I mean, like, I've been trying to make sense of this all week, and I really want to know what you think about his decision to sign with the Cardinals out of every team he could have chosen.
The pressure's certainly on for the Cardinals now. Um, Before they had JJ Watt on the team, you could give them patience of another couple years to, get to the playoffs, start winning some playoff games, and then like by the time Kyler Murray's up for his next contract, he should be competing for the Super Bowl. Now that you have JJ Watt on the team, you absolutely need to be contending. The pressure of having a player of his caliber, his notoriety on your roster, making that kind of move, that's a win now move. You're setting your expectations high for this season. And if Kyler Murray continues to improve like he did last year, if they can get him some more deep threats to throw the ball to, because he throws a really nice deep ball. Um, I'm I certainly think that the Cardinals could be contenders this year if everything shakes out for them.
Yeah, I think you make a lot of good points. I mean, we'll get into more of like the absurdity of JJ Watt's move a little bit later. But one thing I will say is that like I got to give respect to the Cardinals organization because it really seems like they have a great pulse on what they're doing as far as you have a defense, with Chandler Jones and Patrick Peterson and these guys that they're starting to age, but they also have some nice young talent with Isaiah Simmons. It really feels like they're like, okay, listen, before these guys exit their prime while they're still able to help us win, let's make a big move. And it feels like you probably just gave yourself the best pass rush in the entire division because you also I don't know if they'll do with Reddick. I think there's been discussions on whether or not they'll franchise tag him or if they will give him the big contract that he wants. That's to be seen, and we'll find out later. But as presently constructed, I mean, these guys are going to put some heat on quarterbacks. So I mean, as far as that goes, I like the move. I don't think Patrick Pete's too old at this juncture. But secondary guys they tend to decline quick, so we'll see what happens. But as far as on paper, that defense looks like it's going to be elite this year. And Kyler Murray going into his third year, you expect another big jump. That's usually what happens with quarterbacks. Usually their second years aren't great, and then they have a nice little jump in the third year. If that happens and he jumps the same way he jumped from his rookie season to his sophomore season, you're looking at not probably, a great offense as well. You just probably want one more receiver. I don't think you need a top guy to sort of take some heat off of DeAndre Hopkins. Juju Smith-Schuster's been mentioned as a possibility for that. I say you go into this draft as the Cardinals feeling really good about what you have and then really trying to focus hard on what you need. So let's get some protection. It's a good draft for offensive linemen. Get Kyler some more protection. If you can't get another wide receiver for a decent price, you have Christian Kirk, and I think they have one other guy I can't think off the top of my head.
Andy Isabella.
Yeah, Andy Isabella. So you have two guys that are speedy, but if you'd like to get one more guy or maybe a better tight end, that can make some plays for you and block, you fill out your offensive line a little bit. And who's their running back?
Kenyon
Kenyon
Drake.
Drake. Kenyon Drake. That's one of those guys you can love him, leave him, or take it. It's just not. It's just Kenyon Drake. You know what I mean? It's not.
He's the kind of running back that if you can get a power back to pair with him, then you got a really
Yeah.
good back duo, not
Yeah.
a
So
single back that can carry everything.
yeah. So I mean, so you're going into the draft looking pretty good. I mean, you don't have to really fill too many positions. I mean, they could maybe use another linebacker, um, middle linebacker, not outside linebackers, because they do have two good pairs of those. Um, they have a nice young corner across from Peterson. So just offensive line, maybe a nice and a few complementary pieces on offense, and I think they'll be good to go. If Kyler Murray makes that jump, if he does not make a jump or steps back in any way, this move was for naught, and J.J. Watt made a mistake in his choice of destination.
And I certainly think that Isaiah Simmons' versatility on defense, because he can play safety, linebacker, nickel corner, that gives you a lot of wiggle room when you're trying to bring in players to help out, to help
Yeah,
this add depth to your defense, because you can be picky about what person you want, because you can throw Isaiah Simmons in any of those positions and just
yeah, he didn't have a great start to his rookie year, but he started to pick it up as the season progressed, and we'll see if he continues to do that. I don't think you need to. I don't think you need to worry about the secondary too much, honestly. I mean, Byron Murphy. Byron Murphy, he's really good. He's really good, and he's young. And Patrick Peterson's Patrick Peterson. So I mean, like I said, they have a good team. Just the right things need to happen, and they could be contenders. So it's really dependent on what Kyler does, and if they can get some good pieces in the draft to protect him. That's how I see it.
I
Um,
certainly see offensive line as a top
yeah,
target that they should be going for.
and I imagine they'll take multiple. I imagine that if there's a high quality guy in the first, they'll take one there. I could possibly see them going wide receiver in the second, and then maybe dipping back into the offensive line in like third. I think that would be. It might be. It might sound like a boring strategy, but like those, that's what they need. Like for the next 10 years, they really need to attack those things. As far as J.J. Watt and his decision, because I've said it, I've been verbal about it. I'm not happy. It's not that I just think that J.J. Watt is kind of weird, but I won't judge him because he's making a lot of money and he's going to a solid team. However, as a Steelers fan, if you're TJ, I'm looking at you, TJ. How do you not convince your own brother and you, Derek? Two brothers can't convince the older brother to come play with them. I don't understand. You can't convince your brother. He's made $200 million. You can't tell. You can't convince your brother to take a discount. All I'm saying is, if I was on the Steelers and my brother was J.J. Watt, he's guaranteed to come. And as far as J.J., like there were better teams, and I've heard that better teams offered more money. You have the Colts. If he joined that defense is suddenly all world,
Mhm.
and their offense. I mean, you can argue whether or not it's better. We'll see what Carson Wentz is this year, but him on that defense would have been monstrous. And most of all, I've heard that the Browns offered more money than the Cardinals. Are you kidding me? I mean, I don't want him in my division personally on the Browns, but JJ, if you said that you wanted to win a Super Bowl, that's what he said. He wants to win a Super Bowl. You have the Cleveland Browns guaranteed top two running game with Baker Mayfield, who has weapons, and then you could have teamed up with Miles Garrett.
Myles Garrett and a great young defense, but
You could have competed. You're looking at a Cardinals defense who most likely after this year will begin to decline. I mean, there's some young pieces on it. Patrick Peterson will begin to decline. Chandler Jones is getting older, and you're getting older, JJ. You were supposed to enter a period of your career where you could be surrounded by a nice young defense that you could just push over the edge, which is what he would have had in Cleveland. It's what he would have had in Pittsburgh with his brother TJ, with Minka Fitzpatrick. I don't. Maybe he did. Arizona is a lovely place to retire. So I mean, maybe that's what he was thinking. But or he could have went to the Packers. I just I don't know.
the This really comes to me. I think the decision came down to what quarterback he trusted the most, along with what team was going to offer him a good chunk of change. But, it was probably between the Browns and the Cardinals because they were both offering him really good contracts. So, which team did he trust their quarterback situation more? And, he probably sees Baker Mayfield, who's had a very up and down season, or not season, career. And, does he really trust that Baker Mayfield's going to be able to be a consistent quarterback? And then he just sees Kyler Murray, who's just been improving year after year during his career. So he probably looks at Kyler Murray and says, "You're a quarterback that I can trust to get me to the playoffs." And he's only got a couple years left in the league. It doesn't matter if the defense is going to suck in 3 years because he might be gone in 3 years. So
I could understand that argument if you didn't look at the situations that the separate quarterbacks were in, right? Let's take a look at Baker Mayfield. Has arguably the best offensive line of football and arguably like the best receiving core in football once Odell Beckham Jr. is healthy again. He has potentially one of the top 3 running backs in the NFL with Nick Chubb. And his second option with Kareem Hunt, I don't know if he's going to be a free agent, but isn't bad either. You have Carson Wentz, who let's just be honest, at their peaks, Carson Wentz has been better than Kyler Murray. He was just in a bad situation. We'll see if that changes. But again, top 5 offensive line, young running backs, and it's going to be real easy for them to get a nice wide receiver in this offseason. I believe that they will, right? My thing was, you're looking at the Cardinals, and you can maybe compete for a championship one time during this contract, possibly this year, and like with that defense doing most of the heavy lifting and Kyler just doing enough, and then I think it's a 2-year contract. And the year after that, if Kyler Murray really takes a huge leap into being one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, even with the defense that's beginning to age, right? That's how this is going to work out. And if you say, "Oh well, what quarterback can he trust the most?" Listen, say Big Ben. Okay, I get that argument. I'm not going to argue with it there.
dude,
But
Ben
Baker,
Roethlisberger's the reason that the Steelers lost that first playoff
listen,
game.
listen, listen, listen. I'm not going to argue. Okay, I understand. I understand. I won't argue that point. But just based on what's around him, Baker Mayfield can do it. Anything that needs to be done to win. You saw what he did to the Steelers. Like, I mean that was mostly their defense, but it still happened. They still put up 48. That's all I'm going to say. And you're forgetting about another team that was on the table, the Packers. I mean, their cap situations aren't great for those two, the Steelers and the Packers. But if he had been willing to take less money, you're telling me you trust Kyler Murray over Aaron Rodgers?
No, I wouldn't. But I
You're,
think
te- you're
that money played a role in his decision.
you're right, but when your message when you get released, and obviously it was a mutual thing, and you say, "I don't care how much money I make, I want to win a Super Bowl. I've made plenty of money," and you seemingly go with like the one team that just offered you the most money. Seemingly, I've heard that that wasn't the case, but like you could have taken more to go to the Packers, had still a good defense. Quan Alexander, I think they have 2 rushers. I think one of them is going to be leaving though. Then you have Aaron Rodgers with a good old line still, a good running back, and Devontae Adams. So I mean, like Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams. I mean, and it's in your home state. I would at least have respected that more. I just think it was a weird move, but from what I'm hearing, next week is supposed to be, and we're going to get into this next, but next week is supposed to be a major shift for veteran players and people being released. So maybe the Cardinals come out looking real squeaky clean on the other end of this thing. Only time will tell.
Certainly.
And speaking of that, I suppose that we can transition naturally into that news point, which is that big cuts are coming, but there have already been a number of surprise cuts throughout the NFL. Not necessarily surprises, but just people that you wouldn't expect to be cut. Kyle Rudolph, Desmond Trufant from the Lions, and most surprisingly, Kyle Van Noy from the Dolphins, the leader of a Dolphins defense that really overperformed expectations this season. So I mean, looking forward, what do you think about these cuts? and sort of what do you think this means for other players in the league that could be on the chopping block?
This is just a situation where you're seeing a lot of teams wanting to get younger and cheaper. Kyle Rudolph, Desmond Trufant, Cal Van Noy all had pretty decent contracts. Um, they're
I think
taking up
that
a lot of cap room. The Desmond Trufant had like 10 million from the Lions or
I think it
something
was,
like
I
that.
think it was like what 2 years, 20 million, something in that range. And then Kyle Van Noy was somewhere in the range of, I know he had 30 million guaranteed, but I think it was like 4 or 5 years, 50 million, but with 30 million, somewhere in that range. I don't know the
Mm.
exact numbers, but I mean sizable contracts. But they were the leaders of their defense, not so much Trufant, but I mean,
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Rudolph was definitely a leader on the Vikings when he got cut. But you also saw the Vikings draft Irv Smith 2 years ago.
mhm.
So they were obviously getting ready to move on from him. I wouldn't be surprised if Zach Ertz was the next tight end to drop. The Eagles have Dallas Goedert, and they're probably going to target a lot more youth um, coming up
Ert,
because Zach
I,
Ertz, yeah,
I wasn't sure if Ertz had already been cut or not.
I don't think he has,
I wasn't
but
sure.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was either traded or cut, next because just the way that the Eagles are moving towards, they're moving towards a rebuild. Jalen
Yeah.
Hurts is a young guy. Miles Sanders is young. They're trying to make a younger roster to like build up for the future. So
Yeah,
I
I just know
wouldn't be surprised if
there's
Ertz was moved on next.
yeah, I just know there's been hypothetical discussions of Ertz joining Wentz in Indianapolis. So I mean, I think I mean, I'm honestly surprised that what it seems to be is that the cap was lower than anticipated. So a lot of teams are seeing like older players who maybe didn't have their greatest year, and they're like, okay, let's get out from this now, you know. But the thing was is that some of these, I mean, Kyle Rudolph has been on a steady decline. I won't hate on that too much from the Vikings, although I can't imagine why that cap space matters when you have a guy who's been there for so long and has been like a member of that team for so long. But like Desmond Trufant, I know was hurt, and I don't think Jeff Okuda, who was their high draft pick last year, I don't necessarily think that he's shown that he can be the number one guy back there. I don't think it's been relatively close. So I mean, why get rid of him? I get that you guys are going through your own sort of rebuild, but I don't think it was necessary for now. And then I look at Kyle Van Noy, and I'm like, this is a leader on a defense that like, with what seems like a few more pieces, the Miami Dolphins could be like legit. Like they already, Kyle Van Noy is he was like he came in and he changed the culture. He comes in from New England. He's a winner, and you're like, okay, listen, this guy was a major part of changing our culture, a leader on our defense. And what, to save a few extra million because he was hurt during the season? We're going to release him his second year into this contract. I just, uh, you know, we talked about reports from ESPN that next week was going to be even worse for veterans. I'm sort of interested to see who could potentially be next. I mean, I've heard big names. That's what they say. Big names will be losing their jobs next week. So I think it's going to be a super exciting offseason and a super exciting draft. So I mean, I'm ready for it.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of movement, player movement this offseason. With Kyle Rudolph, I do also think there's always the chance that they might cut him and then just bring him back on a cheaper contract because he's been there his entire career. If he
Yeah,
doesn't get any interest from other teams, he's probably just going to wind up back there for league minimum or a really cheap contract.
yeah, because I mean, the Vikings are one of those teams, and it seems specific. Well, they have Dalvin Cook, obviously, and he's all world. But it just seems like they're always it's always that team that's like just right on the edge of being good, but they never quite get there. I mean, so I don't know what their plan is. You know, I always for some reason I've always enjoyed the Vikings though. They've always had something interesting going on.
They've always been fun to watch for sure,
Yeah.
especially when Case Keenum was quarterback and they were somehow just like the darlings of the NFL that one season. Um,
Well, yeah, because they had Adam Thielen. I forget that they had all these guys, and I'm like, Jesus.
Back when they were still, really young, not really as well known as they are now.
Yeah. So I mean, hey, listen, I'm excited to see what happens going forward.
One person we know isn't going to be getting cut is Ben Roethlisberger because he just restructured his deal to take a little bit
Uh,
less money.
how many for? How, I think it did. What he had like 2 years onto it or something onto his
Did they
deal.
add? Did they add years onto it?
Yeah, so they brought the number down and then they spread it out over like 2 more years, I think.
No,
Oh yeah,
no,
oh yeah.
that's not the move. Don't do it.
Listen, he just turned 39. Brady's 46. You guys stop rushing my boy Ben into
But
retirement.
Roethlisberger's already shown so much regression. Brady's still playing at a
Listen,
top level.
listen, Ben.
Roethlisberger is not.
Listen, Ben's a little slower than he used to be. Okay, he took a step back as far as athleticism, I will admit, but I'm thinking, another off season, fixing that or getting that elbow or shoulder right. I think he's going to be back, baby. I have big plans for Ben.
Ben's just been one of those
Huh?
quarterbacks that his entire career he's relied so much on his physicality and his strength and his like natural athleticism that he's had. And now that it's starting to go away, I you're going to see a very steep decline probably
Hey,
next
well,
season.
okay, let's not be disrespectful. Okay, it's our quarterback for the next 3 years.
I'm talking Peyton Manning the year they won the Super Bowl.
Well,
New
heck, I'll take
alarm.
it. I will take it. Let's get what's his name, Brock Osweiler on the phone. Bring him in, and then we'll bring Ben back in for the playoffs so he can really. No, here's my thing about Ben. He didn't look great. He's got some arthritic knees. Just put some ice on those bad boys, and we'll be good to go. We'll be good. We can go. We can take him to Germany and get him some of those shots. Some of those, what I'm talking about, like what Kobe got on his knees. Stem cells.
Stem cells,
Stem cells.
sure.
We'll,
Yeah.
we'll get Ben some stem cells in his knees and in his elbow or wherever the heck his injury was, and he'll be good. He'll be brand new. He'll be running 4.40 next season. Listen, there's nothing to worry about. He's our
I think
quarterback for.
there's everything to worry about.
Hey, would you rather have Mason Rudolph?
I'd rather have Dwayne Haskins to be honest.
Okay, this is over. This
No,
show is over.
I'm not no, I'm not saying that because I think Dwayne Haskins is the quarterback of the future for the Steelers, but I think that Dwayne Haskins just is going to be a naturally better quarterback
No,
than Ben Roethlisberger
you,
next year
you,
because
you,
Ben
you
Roethlisberger is about to drop off a cliff.
you know that you. Okay, Max Kellerman, calm down. First of all, you do that like Dwayne Haskins ran like a 6 second 40, right? He's probably slower than Big Ben is, right?
I,
It wasn't really. It was more like five. It was more like 5 seconds, but still, it's ridiculous. Dude's slow as dirt.
he doesn't need
No,
to be
I'm good.
fast. They have a good offensive line.
Who?
Steelers.
Well, by what metric?
I mean,
Pouncey's retired. We're about to lose Villanueva.
you
The
don't know
cast.
that.
No, we are going to lose him. We can't resign Villanueva, not for $15 million a year when he was making six.
I mean, what's the friggin'
A core four?
who did they draft last year at guard? Dotson.
Dotson. Dotson's
So
okay.
slide Filer out to left tackle. Dotson starts at left guard. You need to get a center somewhere because
Yeah.
JC Hassenauer is not gonna be.
What? What's wrong with JC?
He's not a starting center.
Listen, Matt Filer is not a great. He's not great. I don't even know if I'd call him good. Dotson is young. A core four, who is the tackle we took a few years ago, he can't run block to save his life. DeCastro, he's like 31. I think he'll turn it around. I think he had a bad year, right? I don't think that 31 is old for an offensive lineman. But people are saying he's showing signs of age. I don't think that. I think he was dealing with some stuff last year.
He was hurt.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine. I think he still has another 4 years, 5 years if he wants to play that long. Because that's what players play to nowadays. Dotson, you might be right. He might be good. But as far as tackles go, we do not have any.
There are a lot of former Steelers that might want to come back. Kelvin Beacham's a free agent. Bring him back.
No, I remember when Calvin Beecham became a free agent. This is a bit off topic, but I wanted us to re-sign him so much because he played so well, and then he was so trash everywhere else that he went.
He was good on the
I think that was Mike
Jets.
Munchak.
He was
I think that
just
was Mike
fine on the
Munchak is what that
Jets.
was.
Mike Munchak knew how to develop a tackle
Mike Munchak knew how
and
to
a
develop a
guard
line. That boy
and a
knew how to
center.
develop and for everything. So listen, I don't think Ben's going to have a lot of protection. I expect us to also go heavy in the draft on offensive linemen because it's a requirement. Because we're probably not going to make a splash in free agency. We might get someone for the vet minimum.
All right, yeah, and
So
I'm gonna say I apologize for saying that Dwayne Haskins would be a better option than Ben Roethlisberger.
yeah,
I
that's
really,
that's blasphemous. I can't believe you'd
I
even.
really think it's time for the Steelers to move on. I was very emotional.
You do realize that Ben just threw for 33 touchdowns and 10 interceptions,
You
right?
do realize he was the sole reason the Steelers lost to the Browns.
Hey, Marquise Pouncey's the one who flicked the ball 38 yards on the first snap of the game. What is Ben supposed to do? He's supposed to run back, get it, and
Maybe
make a
if he was
first down?
athletic, if he had his athleticism from like 10 years ago, he would.
All right, I'm sorry for berating everyone with Steelers frustrations, but that's just what happens when you got two Steelers fans running the show by themselves.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. Maybe they should trade for Gardner Minshew.
All righty, everyone. I want to thank you for watching this episode of the Spartan Sports Podcast, and I hope that you return, and hopefully we'll have other people here with us.
Yes, hopefully their schedules aren't full like they were today.
Alrighty, everyone. Thank
Be
you.
sure
Have a good. Huh?
be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Oh yes, do that. We want to make money someday. That's
We
our
wanna.
goal.
This is we wanna be really good at this. So make sure you tell us what you don't like, what you like.
Tell us topics. What do you want us to hear us talk about? And most importantly, subscribe to our OnlyFans.
Yeah, I suppose. All right.
Bye, everyone.
End it. Bye.